Hey guys, what's up? I am so hyped for today. I'm just on one, so this is probably about to be a litty crazy video. Anyway, welcome back to my channel. This is Life from Mars, if you couldn't already tell. Today I am super psyched though, because I'm going to be talking about one of my absolute favorite topics. Today I'm going to be talking about why I believe in aliens. Yes! So if you guys don't know me, I am obsessed with aliens. Like, I love aliens so much. I literally have an alien tattoo right here. I'm just obsessed. Like, I love aliens. I find them so interesting. I think they're awesome. I could go on and on, you know what I mean? That being said, I thought I would make this video because I've thought about making this video for a long time, because I just want to tell you guys why I believe in aliens, talk about some of my personal experiences that I've had with aliens, and just kind of give my, I guess, perspective on it and the journey that I have come in my gradual growth to appreciate and care for UFOs. And the aliens, because you know, all aliens are not UFOs, get it right. Anyway, I think that I'll start from the beginning. I just want to say right now that when I was a child, I was extremely afraid of aliens. They scared the shit out of me. I thought that they were so scary. I remember the first ever time I was really exposed to the idea of aliens. I was at my uncle's house and he had this magazine. I don't even know what magazine it was. Like, I could not identify it now because I've never seen anything like it since, but it's such a vivid trauma from my childhood. On this magazine, it was talking about aliens. The magazine was about aliens. I don't know if it was some sort of supernatural special of like a regular magazine. I have no idea, but on the front was this picture of the supposed alien, and this thing was disgusting looking. It was so ugly. It was so scary. It literally looked like the worst thing that you could imagine in your freaking nightmares. And I was just like, what the hell? That is terrifying. I was like literally maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I just remember being like, I was shook to my tiny core. And so for most of my childhood, I kind of kept that mindset. They just scared me because I didn't understand them. And I think that even when I was little, I did kind of know that they were real, because I started to have experiences with UFOs when I was actually kind of young. So the first ever time I can actually remember seeing a UFO, I was probably about 7 years old. I was in my backyard at my house, and my entire family was at my house. There was at least 30 to 40 people in my backyard, and it was about sunset. I remember that I was playing with some of my cousins, the adults were talking, we were all just kind of chilling, and then all of a sudden, one of the adults points to something in the sky. And after about 30 seconds of kind of some confusion, almost every single person at the party, including all of us kids, start looking at the sky. We're looking up, and there's this object in the sky. And like I said, it was about sunset time, so it was not dark. You could pretty much still see the entire outline of whatever this thing was. It was a triangle craft, and it had 3 lights, and they were not blinking at all. But it looked like it was really close to us. Like, you could perfectly see the structure of the craft. There was absolutely no sound coming from it whatsoever. And it was just kind of hovering there for the longest time, just hovering there. And everyone at the party was just like, what is that? And my family didn't want to, I guess, like just straight up be like, oh, it's a UFO, because they're like more of a traditional Mexican family. They're not gonna just, I don't know, it's just not necessarily super normal to just be talking about that kind of stuff. So I think even the adults were shocked. Honestly, I think that they were even shocked at what they were seeing, because everyone was just could not explain it. It was obviously not a plane. Like, there was absolutely zero chance that that was a plane. It was clearly a triangle craft with 3 lights that was hovering there, and after a couple of minutes, it literally disappeared into the sky. And so that was crazy. And I remember thinking that time, wow, these things are definitely real. My whole family just saw that, and all of these adults, you know, who I think, oh, they probably have explanations for things, they don't even have an explanation for this. So this was 100% a UFO, 100% an unidentified flying object. And I even remember we ended up finding out later on that there had been several sightings of UFOs during that time in our city. So yeah, that was pretty much the first time that I really actually had an experience with the UFO, and I just had so many continually after that. I would go and chill on the roof sometimes with my cousins, and I remember like at their house in the specific area of town, we would go on the roof, and a lot of the times we would see things. We would see UFOs, we would see things moving, and we would see things in the sky that just were not right. I feel like after I kind of opened my mind to it, and you actually start paying attention more to the sky, I just started noticing crazy things happening in the sky more and more and more and more. And this was even before that I was like really obsessed with aliens. I wasn't necessarily just trying to see them all the time. It just kept happening. I don't know. It was just getting excessive. We were at a little party one time, I remember, and we saw something in the sky. Same kind of idea. This craft that had lights, but that was clearly not a plane. I remember that at first we thought it was a star because it was just sitting there for a long time, but we thought it was weird because there really wasn't any other stars in the sky, and it was very bright, and so it didn't really make sense because it wasn't quite late enough to where there would be that many stars, and much less just one star super bright like that. And so we kind of started paying attention to it because we were facing the direction where it was at the table that we were sitting, and we look up and we watch it start to move across the sky. After at least 10 minutes of being in the exact same place, just sitting there, it starts to move across the sky, and not like towards us as if it had been in the horizon and coming over us. Like, it just starts to move sideways, and it starts to move super fast at first, and then it kind of slows down, and eventually it just completely disappears, pretty much the same way that first UFO did. And I've seen that happen many times. I would say probably the actual craziest experience that I've ever had was one time when I went hiking. I've never seen, I guess, something that excessive, that just insane. I was out hiking in the mountains in the city where I live with my friends, and that was something that we would do all the time, you know, like we were pretty experienced hikers, and we were actually coming down from a hike because it was starting to kind of get dark. Again, now that I'm noticing this, I feel like so many of these experiences have happened at sunsets. I mean, I don't know if that's coincidence or what, but that is kind of weird. I'm just now realizing that as I'm telling you guys these stories. But that being said, so it's about sunset time again, and we're going down the mountain because, you know, we want to get down before it gets too dark. And so we're going down the mountain, and for whatever reason, we just decided to stop for a second. We weren't even that tired. It was really weird. It was just like almost something was just telling us to just stop there. And I even remember us like talking about how I just feel like we should just take a break here real quick just because. It was just kind of one of those decisions that didn't even really have any reasoning behind it. It just perfectly had to happen that way for us to be able to see what we did. And so we stopped. And in stopping, we just decided to look up to the sky. Like I said, it was the sunset. The sky looked really beautiful. We were in the middle of the mountain, so we look up naturally. And directly above us, we see this object. And this object, first off, we notice that it's just hovering there completely directly above us. Like, I'm not joking. It's like looking straight up, and directly above our heads was this object. High up in the sky, high enough to where it didn't look humongous, but low enough to where you could tell that it was really, really big, and also to where, once again, it was very obvious that it was not a plane. It did not have any blinking lights. It was not making any noise, and it was just hovering there. At first, we were just kind of like, do you guys see that? You know, we all started kind of paying attention to it, and we're like, whoa, like, that's weird. What is that? Is that a star? What is going on? What the heck? All of a sudden, this one object splits into 3 objects. Obviously, do I know exactly how it happened? No, but one light split off, like 2 lights split off of the middle light and became 3 lights. So it was like the first big light in the middle, the 2 smaller lights on the side. And that is when we are just like, what the hell? What just happened? How did that happen? What is going on? And so we continue watching it in the sky, and it just keeps splitting. It's like it keeps making smaller and smaller pieces. I think at the end there was maybe like 6 lights, 6 different lights, and they started making this formation. It was 2 in the front, 1 in the middle, and then the 2 on the side. So it was like a diamond with 1 in the middle. They just kept making all of these crazy formations as they were continuing to split. And finally, after like 15 minutes of this happening, of these lights just literally hovering there and splitting apart, finally, one of the lights, the one main light, speeds up super fast and just shoots out of the sky. So fast, just shoots out into the horizon. And we were like, what the hell? Like, did you guys just see that? Did you guys just see that UFO, that thing, fly out of the sky after it was just hovering there for how long? And the other lights are just still chilling there. And then finally, like slowly but surely, the side ones start to move away. And then the other one that was in the back, flies out the other way. Eventually, they literally just all flew out or faded away into the clouds, into the sky. Like they were just disappearing, like they were going under a cloak. And like I said, I've seen that happen so many times at this point that I honestly feel like they're just kind of increasing increasing their frequency so that they cannot be actually perceived by our human eyes, because really that's all that would take for something to disappear, is just to increase its frequency enough to be out of the electromagnetic range that we can perceive. And so if these creatures are using like anti-gravity crafts and things, I would absolutely not doubt that they could do something as simple as that, really. So yeah, that experience was just absolutely insane. And the craziest thing about it, guys, and I will say this kind of about all of my UFO encounters, is that I personally, in the encounters that I have never ever felt afraid. In that crazy encounter that I had on the mountain with the 6 lights, I honestly just felt intrigued. It was like I was witnessing something amazing. I felt so almost lucky to be witnessing something so incredible. It didn't feel scary at all, and I didn't feel threatened. None of us felt threatened. Even though that thing was definitely lowering, going down, going up, going down, going up. We did not feel threatened, any of us. It was almost like a very calm feeling. And so that has been the majority of my personal experiences with UFOs, which I think is a big reason that I just personally am not afraid of them. Now, that being said, I do not only believe in UFOs because of my own personal experiences. I also believe in them because I have seen an overwhelming amount of evidence to suggest that they are real, to the point where I do not physically think that it's even possible that they're not real. I just don't kind of believe in them. I don't think that there's maybe some possibility that there's some alien. I think that it's blatantly obvious, based on the evidence that is available, that there is 100% extraterrestrials. And not only that, but that there's multiple different types, multiple different species, and that a good portion of them, or at least maybe 10 different species, are visiting Earth continually, regularly, whatever. And that has come based on literally years of doing research, of looking into things, of following different channels and UFO evidence. One of my absolute favorite channels on YouTube is called Secure Team 10. If you guys have never heard of it, I would highly suggest you guys check it out. I'll put a link down in the bio so you guys can go and check it out. But basically, 99% of what he uploads is just all videos of UFOs that people have seen. And guys, it is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Some of the things that happen every day pretty much on this planet. I heard somebody say once, there is more proof for UFOs than most of the modern theories in physics. And it's so true. It's so true. Because there is literally new evidence every single day of UFOs. Every single day people are reporting getting abducted, having experiences, running into actual extraterrestrials. You have people constantly coming out from top government positions disclosing information about UFO technology, about how the government has been in cahoots with the aliens for decades, about all of these things, about seeing actual alien beings walking around the Pentagon. Like, it goes on and on. It's just absolutely crazy. Again, if you guys would like to look into any specific information, because I'm not going to go super into it right now just because it's a huge wormhole. Like I said, I mean, I keep emphasizing that there's so much information, but that's also kind of the reason I can't even begin to sum it up, just because there's so much. It goes on. So if you guys would like to learn more, I would highly also suggest watching 2 films that are actually currently available on Netflix. So the first film is called Unacknowledged. That documentary is essentially about this huge press conference and this huge disclosure that came forward recently, where a huge group of government officials, scientists, CIA agents, military officials, you name it, all of these people, high-ranking people in the government, they came forward and they actually held a huge press conference talking about the need for disclosure of the reality of extraterrestrials and how the government is purposefully suppressing this information so that they can use the power that they are getting from alien technology. Now, the second film that I would definitely recommend is called Bob Lazar, and it is about this man named Bob Lazar who actually was famous for being the first ever person to expose Area 51. So obviously, I know that's the big joke, right? Like, aliens are at Area 51, and if you guys didn't know, the whole reason that that's even a thing is because of this man, because of Bob Lazar. He actually came forward, I think it was in the 70s or the early 80s, because he felt like he was being threatened with his life, and so he felt like the only way that he could make sure that he stayed safe was to go public. This man was working as a physicist for the US government. He was working at S4. He was working at the base that Area 51 is actually called. It's not just called Area 51, it's actually called like S4 or whatever. And so he was working at this place. He had really top clearance, and he was working on basically reverse engineering alien craft. And so their job was to understand how these vehicles worked and how they could essentially replicate the technology that was being used. This man was specifically working on the propulsion system of the craft. The way he describes it is that the whole thing was very compartmentalized. So he specifically was working with one other partner to understand the propulsion system. There was other people specifically working on metallurgy who were trying to understand the actual fabric and the makeup of the craft. There was another person who was working on the control system and trying to understand how they actually even controlled the craft. And guys, it is going to blow your mind. Some of the things that he discusses saying and the things that he saw, the fact that these crafts were using anti-gravity waves according to him and gravity propulsion systems, it is absolutely insane. And it really makes you realize that it's kind of crazy that the government has had this technology for decades, and I don't know. I just feel like it's important to know, personally. That's just me. On top of the fact that I've just seen an overwhelming amount of evidence, in my opinion. Also, just thinking in a scientific, critical way, statistically, according to the size of the universe, look at it like this. Of our solar system alone, right, there is how many planets? Less than 10, right? We have 9 planets, okay? So not very many planets at all, and that's including Pluto, which technically is not even included anymore, poor little Pluto. But out of those planets, one of them has life. 1 in 9 planets, just in one tiny solar system, that can support life. You guys know how many infinite amounts of planets that there are out there, and infinite amounts of stars and galaxies? Like, just in our galaxy alone, how many planets there are? It seems almost laughable to me that any actual scientific person could even pretend to dismiss that this is a possibility. And not only that this is a possibility, but that it would be statistically impossible for this to not be real. I think that it's important to understand that I think that a lot of the times we define life as the way that we look at life on Earth. And the reality is that consciousness could be expressed in various different ways. So there could be life forms that could be living off completely different minerals than what we use here on Earth. So just because we beings are carbon-based and we need H2O, we need oxygen, you know, we need these certain elements to survive, does not mean that there could not be a creature that could be conscious, therefore be a life form, be a fellow thing on this universe that could be surviving purely on sulfur and hydrogen and, you know, maybe other chemicals, other elements. That is entirely possible. So I think that we kind of need to expand our mind frame of thinking about what kind of being could possibly survive, and really just kind of get over our own egocentric idea that humans are the center of the universe, because in reality, we are the tiniest ant in a literal universe full of anthills. We are part of this beautiful dance, and it's not like we're less important than any other beings, but I think that we need to embrace that it is a literal circle of life that does not just end at our atmosphere. I think that a big thing that has helped me kind of look and approach aliens in a good and positive way is that I always think, you know, when you see an animal, another animal on Earth, let's just say a giraffe. A giraffe looks absolutely nothing like a human at all. It acts differently than a human. Looking at a giraffe, if a giraffe was not an animal from Earth, you would think that that's an alien creature. What do you think the aliens think when they look at humans? Like, we are aliens to other aliens. They're aliens to us and we are aliens to them. And our dogs are aliens, you know, we're just Earth aliens and they're just from another planet. So there's really no difference other than we're aliens from a different planet. There's not us and them. It's just all of us at the same time together, you know? I don't know. I 100% believe that definitely a lot of these species have advanced technology. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think that, frankly, we probably could already be on that level if there wasn't so much suppression of technology and of free energy and things like that in our society, which is a very real thing because of the fact that they are using it so much to suppress and control us. I think that, like I said before, that there's various different species of aliens, and I think that because, once again, there's been evidence that a lot of people have had experiences with specific kinds of aliens repeatedly. So there's been multiple sightings of specific types of aliens. Now, the most popular ones are definitely the Greys. So that's what you would probably picture as your stereotypical alien. Big head, gray skin, huge eyes. What I've seen, there's two types of grays. There's the tall grays and the small grays. The small grays are very small. They're about 3 feet tall. And then there's the taller grays that are, well, they're taller. And usually when people have experiences with getting abducted and things, it's the small grays. So they tend to be the ones that like to abduct people. So I would look at them as sort of the more malicious of the species. Now there's also others. There's the reptilians. A lot of people report to have seen reptilian aliens. Obviously there's a lot of theories that reptilians are sort of embedded into the government. I mean, that goes the same thing with the grays. And can I honestly say that that's not true? Definitely not. Do I think it might be true? Honestly, yes. Do I know for sure? No. But I would not put anything out of the realm of possibility, to be honest. There's also multiple other species of aliens that have been reported. There's aliens that are reported to look sort of like humans. You know, not all of them look like crazy different. There's a lot that you almost look human-like according to people who have had experiences with them. I mean, guys, it's insane. Also, another big thing is when you look at people who get abducted, when they talk about their experiences or when they go through like regression therapy, most people report seeing the same kind of things. When people get abducted, the similar things start to happen to them. There's even been people who remember seeing other people that they knew in crafts. There's stories of kids that would get abducted together from the same city, and they would see each other on these alien crafts, and they have like these broken up traumatic memories of when they used to get abducted, and they have identical stories. It's just crazy, and people that don't even know each other. Honestly, this subject is literally Pandora's box because it can go on forever, and I think I almost kind of avoided making this video for a while just because I wasn't even actually sure what even exactly I was going to say, just because there's so much I want to say, but I don't want to make this video 12 hours long, so I kind of have to cap it at a certain point. But I just wanted to make this video as just kind of a general explanation as to why I believe in aliens and what has led me to that conclusion, and also just kind of present some evidence for you guys as to maybe how you can open your mind to that possibility as well, how you can kind of shift your thinking into starting to address that this may be a possibility, or even accepting it in a positive way, which is what I would definitely encourage. I would encourage you not to be afraid of UFOs. I would encourage you not to be afraid of aliens, and to just say, would I get afraid if I saw another animal on the planet? No. So why would I get afraid if I saw an alien? There's always going to be polarity of energy. There's always going to be good and bad. And just like there's good and bad people, obviously it's going to be the exact same thing with aliens, you know? Not all of aliens are going to be malicious and aggressive and negative. There's obviously going to also be the polar opposite, and there's also going to be the middle ground. So I encourage you to kind of look at it as you would look at any individual, right? Like, you're not automatically maybe going to blindly trust anything, but at the same time, I think that it's important not to assume that there's a negative intention just because you don't necessarily completely understand it. Just because you don't completely understand UFOs does not mean that they are bad. Just because all of the media has made movies about them being scary and taking over the world does not mean that that is actually going to happen, nor does it mean that is any of the alien species' actual agenda here on the planet. That being said, I would definitely encourage you guys again to check out the resources that I mentioned: Secure Team 10, Unacknowledged, and the Lazar documentary. Both of those are on Netflix, and Secure Team 10 is a YouTube channel, so all of that is very accessible. I will again leave the links to all of that down below so you guys can check it out if you are interested. So yeah, as you guys can tell, I am very passionate about this topic. I just find it to be so interesting, and I genuinely do think that we are coming into a future where there are going to be extraterrestrials walking alongside us, and that in some ways they may integrate into our society. And so I personally think that we just need to be prepared for that, and I think that it's always better to have an open mind and to approach all things with positivity and to not face things with fear, especially things that we don't understand. And also, I will say this, that there's a lot of reports that UFOs do communicate telepathically. There's stories of people who have been called to certain areas, just feel drawn to go to a certain area, or they even hear voices in their head telling them to go somewhere, and then they have an experience with UFO where they get abducted or whatever. A lot of the times these UFOs do use telepathic communication, and so For me, I look at it as if I'm gonna be telepathically communicating with a UFO that may or may not be nice, I would at least like to be putting out good energy to it. And, you know, for lack of a better word, I guess, you know, I come in peace. I promise I'm not trying to exploit you or cast you in a Tom Cruise movie or do, you know, any experiments or anything. Like, I just want to be friends. So yeah, this is why I believe in aliens. This is why I guess I have the attitude that I do have towards them. My personal experiences, along with the research I've done, the other evidence that I've seen, and just kind of, I guess, the mindset that I've developed about them. I think that they're super interesting. I think they're super cool. And frankly, I think that we have to accept it. And that any talk otherwise is honestly just not productive, really, at all. And I think that it's only a matter of really a couple years before we get full disclosure in the United States, because other countries are already doing it. That's another thing. Like, how do you even deny it when other countries are literally admitting it? Like, do you think we're stupid? Anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a big like and also comment below. I would love to know if you guys have had any interactions with UFOs. What are your UFO stories? Do you believe in aliens? Do you have any comments about anything that I've said? Have you seen any of the films or YouTube channel that I discussed? I would like to know. Please leave a comment. And of course, please do subscribe. I appreciate every single person who subscribes. I love having you guys on my channel, and I have much more content coming out for you. I release new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so it's hype. Anyway, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!